Gamers, today I'm going to explain for everyone on Twitch that are just tuning in because I just started my stream, and on YouTube, what Age of Empires, well, you know what it is, how it works more so. Give you a couple of details because a lot of you guys, might be interested in trying Age of Empires 4, but it's like you don't know where to start. So I'll try to explain it to you guys like, you're coming from StarCraft and what the game is about. Okay, so Age of Empires has a 1-on-1, 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4. The team games are actually quite popular, I think. There's a lot of players queuing up for that, and I see a lot of players playing it. In Age of Empires 4, there are 8 civs. So these civs are very different. They're kind of like races in StarCraft 2, but they're not as different. Think of more like co-op StarCraft 2, difference between like Raynor and Nova, right? They are different, but they're kind of the same background, I guess. So the simplest civ, if you want to try Age of Empires 4, are English and French. Those are very basic. The buildings are basic. They're very straightforward. Some of these other ones get a little bit more complicated. But in general, whatever civ you like playing, every civ has their own bonuses. As you can see, it has like civilization bonuses. Kind of like someone's villagers get produced faster, some mine faster, some units are cheaper, some units are available in the earlier tech, and so on and so forth. Not to bother you with that too much. And also, one cool thing about Age of Empires that you guys might not know about is there are 4, 8, 12, 16, 17 different maps. So these are not maps like StarCraft 2 where you host a map and it's always the same. So for example, Dry Arabia is a very open map, not a lot of choke points, and it's the most basic standard map. It doesn't have any quirkiness to it, it's just a straight up map. And then what happens is these maps get generated and it's randomly generated. So for example, one game you start, on the middle is your base, left is the gold. Another game that you start on Dry Arabia, your base is going to be in the middle and the gold is going to be northeast, and then the food is going to be on the west side. So the maps themselves are randomly generated, but they follow a certain pattern. So for example, if you host Ancient Spires, there will be water on the map like this, like these small ponds, but they will not always be in the same spot. So a big part of Age of Empires is actually scouting the map and kind of adapting and making your strategy on the go, which is what strategy games are all about. So with that being said, let me show you a little replay. I kind of wanted to wait for a quote-unquote good replay to check out and show you guys, but all the games are just so weird and unique and messy that there's no, I can't make a proper game analysis off of any game because they're all so unique. So try to find a game where nothing weird happens is more or less straightforward. And I didn't want to show you guys like a build order, right, game, because build orders don't matter for you right now. I just wanted to explain to you guys how Age of Empires works. I would say my favorite part about Age of Empires are the randomly generated map. The game is not so much focused on micro. The battles are not over in 1 second. And every game genuinely feels like a new game. And because there is 8 civs and 17 maps, each game is very unique. Like, it's extremely rare to have a similar game because there's so many different civs. Every civ focuses on something unique, which if you're new doesn't matter. Like, you're not gonna lose because you didn't know that, this civ produces this 3% faster or something like that. So the downsides of it so far are the UI, which is something a lot of people complained, but that is something they already plan to fix, so that's good news. Anyway, to get started. So in Age of Empires 4, this is obviously a replay. You have 4 resources and obviously supply like in StarCraft 2. So you have food, wood, gold, and stone. So the easiest way to explain these is food is used for workers, for a lot of basically all the units unless it's a siege unit, and for a lot of upgrades. Wood is used to produce buildings, of course, and used for ranged units. And then you have gold that is used for pretty much almost all the upgrades, and it's used for heavier tech units. So think of it like gold is like gas, basically. It's something you desperately need if you want to win the longer the game goes, and if you don't have gold, you're pretty much screwed. And a lot of tactics in Age of Empires rely around choking your opponent's gold from, you know, 15 minutes onwards, so you can basically produce higher tier units and just, you know, beat them with better units. And then stone is used for stone walls, some upgrades in super late game, and it's used for castles, which are basically like planetary fortresses. So you can hold like parts of the map. So right here you see how many workers you have on food, which is one really cool thing about Age of Empires. This is also during the game, this is not just replay. You will see how many workers are on food, and if you mouse over you will see how much food per minute you're getting. Wood, same thing. So one more thing, on the right you'll see like the score, age 1. There's 4 different ages. Think of ages like hatchery tech, layer tech, and hive tech. And then there's another tech which is age 4. It's basically like 4 tiers of units, where StarCraft has 3. So that's what you should kind of compare it to and how to look at it. So I played here against my opponent ZG Light. Namely, this is not his main civ. I think he said he wasn't very good with it, so you know, just to get that out there. In this game he plays Delhi, and I play French, and again I show this replay because it's very harass oriented, which is something you guys might you know, enjoy. But also French are, like I said, pretty straightforward. So every game starts with 6 workers and a scout, no matter what civ you are. Mongols have a unique scout, but that doesn't matter for you guys. So you start with 6 workers, and what you want to do is instantly start producing workers. And what you want to do with your scout is go around the map and search for sheep. Each sheep has 250 food, and they will follow your scout. So what you want to do, like this, find all the sheep and get them to your town center, so that you can gather food super quickly and you don't have to leave your base to gather food, because if you leave your base you spread yourself too thin and you can get harassed. So this is like the basic build order for this, which, like I said, for you guys it doesn't matter too much. You go 7 on food. I'll say it anyway if you guys are trying out from StarCraft 2. You go 7 on food, then with the next villager you build a house, then you build a mining camp and you get 3 on gold. After that you put stuff on wood, and that way you tech up to age 2. Now age 1, for some civs you can build basic units. For some civs you basically want to just get to age 2 as fast as possible, so that you can actually build some heavier tech units and you know, kind of start your game up from then on. Meanwhile, your scout, if you look at my vision, like I'm just going around trying to scout what's going on, where the sheep are at, and so on and so forth. Some opponents or some people opt to go for 2 scouts, so while you search for the sheep you can actually go to your opponent straight away and see if they are cheesing or if they are doing something, or you can just collect sheep twice as fast and twice as much, potentially. So the opponent is doing the same with his scout. He's just going around, getting all the sheep. There's these bitey infantry wolves that will attack your fighting units and workers. So they don't do a lot of damage, they're just annoying as hell. So if you mouse over here, you'll see the income per minute for food. And basically what your goal now is to get 200 gold and 400 food pretty much as fast as you can, unless you got some super specific builds, which doesn't interest you guys. And you want to go up to age 2, because age 2 opens up for a lot of tech. Think of it like just having barracks with no add-on, and then teching up to stim or to factory. That's basically your age 2. You kind of need to advance to do more. And doing like, you know, age 1 rushes with units won't work, because you can pull workers into the TC and they will actually shoot extra arrows from it, and you will get blasted. So here I slowly start getting wood, because I'm going to need to produce more production stuff, more production buildings, more you know, houses and so on. So you got to start chopping that wood. Now I got 400 food and 200 gold, and now I just put the age 2 landmark. So landmarks in Age of Empires are basically the layer upgrade, except they're a specific building for every civ, except one, they upgraded, but they're a specific building and you have two options, which I find really cool. So here you can see in the replay. So French, for example, and every civ has their unique thing. So French can make School of Cavalry, which acts as a stable where you produce your knights and horsemen from. And the bonuses, all your stables produce 20% faster. Or the other one, which is the economic landmark, that acts as a market. And traders and trade ships return 30% more resources. So if you want to go for a more economy-based game and go like traders from the start, which is not really a playstyle currently, I'm sure it will develop eventually. It's kind of like looking at it like fast expand. People don't know how to deflect attacks quite yet because the game is new. But you could go with this and then do traders and play more passive because you get more resources. But right now the meta and what everyone is doing is School of Cavalry, and because it counts as a stable, right? So instead of having to build a stable, you already have it, and all your stable units produce faster, and you can do a really quick harass with it. So that's what French players are doing right now, and that's what's popular. They usually take a while to build, so you don't put just one worker, you put like 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how fast you want to rush. Here's my scout delivering some sheep. And the reason why, by the way, you want to get sheep instead of getting these berries is because villagers collect meat faster than they do berries. So you don't want to collect berries unless you don't actually absolutely have to. Some civs, like Delhi, which is my opponent, actually gathers 25% faster from berries. So that's why he starts with berries and leaves the sheep. So this is like the bonuses and the downsides of each civ. So what he's doing is gathering this now because he's getting the bonus, and after that he's gonna go back and collect from his sheep, which is gonna be a lot safer because it's next to his base. So yeah, like I said, those are the differences in civs. The differences in civs aren't like their workers and their units look different. Some of them do, but it's these small things, whether it's a different army unit or different economy and stuff like that. But for now I am on sheep, and I have deer right here, which is even better source of food than sheep. Most maps you don't have deer this close, but this specific map has deer this close to your base. So I think soon I switch to that and start snacking on the deer. So from here on out, this is basically what everyone does, no matter what civ you do, in order to tech up to Age 2. Now, for in StarCraft 2 terms, there are many different options. So this is what I love about Age of Empires. If you scout your opponent, you need to you don't have a build order per se for the rest of the game like in StarCraft. What you do is you have a general playstyle. So for example, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm gonna go stable at this time and I'm gonna transfer this amount of workers to that time. It's way more strategic in the moment than StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2, you have a plan, you practice build order, and you do it, right? And you learn how to defend stuff with that build order. That's not how Age of Empires works. You can have a general idea of what you want to do. So my general idea for this game is, I'm going to open a School of Cavalry. I'm going to produce knights out of it, harass my opponent, scout what he's doing, and react to what he's doing. So like I will basically harass, get the scouting info, and counter what he's making against me, if that makes sense. Now, when you start the second landmark, you can start collecting stone and go for a fast expand, which is basically adding another town center, which right now a lot of people all in on the latter. So most people stay one base, but plenty of people are experimenting and trying the fast expanding, and it does work, of course. You just need to know how to defend with it. From here on out, you can decide, I'm going to go 2 base all in, Age 2 all in. You can decide, I'm going to tech up even faster to the next age. You can decide to control the points on the map, harass, or you can even try, say like I'll harass, and I'll go Age 3, I'll tech up, but then your harassment goes really well, and then you just throw down extra production buildings and try to kill your opponent. So what I'm trying to say is Age of Empires is a lot like you have to react in the moment and make decisions in the moment, which is why I've been enjoying it so much, because it's not so focused on micro, even though this game has a lot of micro, which you'll see. It's more so on the strategic part and kind of preventing your opponent from getting resources and expanding and just controlling the map. So you can see here I'm still getting my sheep. He's still getting his berries, and he's also teching up. His tech is a bit late to age 2. Not every civ techs up at the same time. Some players delayed a bit, you know, in favor of something else, and so on and so forth. So here, my sheep are almost done. I have like 2-3 left, so I'm starting to get some of those deer. And once I'm done with deer or sheep, I will transfer to berries and start getting that. So you can see I'm still scouting, still getting berries. If you look at my vision, pretty much have the whole map figured out. I saw everything there is to see. I saw that he has barracks right here, which produce spearmen. Now, this is an interesting thing about Age of Empires 4. In StarCraft 2, you have like marauders countering roaches. But in Age of Empires 4, it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors, where you have infantry, which is like melee units, like men-at-arms, which are swordsmen, basically. You have spearmen. You have archers, which are archers and crossbows, and you have horsemen and cavalry, which is... Horsemen is cavalry, but I mean horsemen and knights. And then you have siege units. This is like the most basic representation. There are some extra units in there, but this is... why is that music so loud? But this is like the basic explanation. Let me reduce this a little bit. Alright, so... Now, because I'm French, he knows that I'm going knights, because this is a popular build. So he's opening with barracks to make spearmen, because spearmen are anti-cavalry. So once I scout this, a little bit later, I go archery range, because archers counter spearmen, spearmen counter cavalry. Men-at-arms counter archers, and they counter spearmen, because they're armored units. Also, there's like, basically like, not light units, but... Technically they are. There's light units and armored. So, for example, archers will kill spearmen, but they will not kill men-at-arms because they're armor equipped, or whatever you want to call them. That's where you need crossbows. And crossbows are anti-armor, but they're more expensive archers. So it's basically a lot of seeing what your opponent is doing and countering that. And it's kind of very intuitive, like spearmen counter cavalry. If you watch any movie or played any game ever, that's how it works. Knights against good against archers, because they can close the distance and you know, kill archers very quickly. So if your opponent is going for, let's say, knights or cavalry plus archers, what you want to do is you can go for some spearmen plus archers, and your goal is to protect your archers with your spearmen versus cavalry, and use your archers to kill his archers. So there's a lot of like back and forth in terms of unit compositions and micro, and that's why scouting is important, because you want to make sure you have the right comp fighting against, you know, what your opponent is doing. Like if he made mass archers against my knights, that wouldn't go too well for him. Anyway, so back in my base, I'm just making workers, you know, teching up, getting my economy back up and going. He's doing the same. He has 2 spearmen protecting his berry farming. I charge at the 1 worker. These knights have like a charge attack where if they charge and hit something, they hit for extra damage. So I did a little bit of damage to the worker. He pulls it back closer to TC, so it's safer. When he's running, he's slowly running out of berries, so he's slowly getting that sheep. I'm trying to go around and try to harass whatever I can. I just went past his gold. I saw that he has nothing on gold, no workers. So gold, like I said, is for teching. So I see he's not teching. Okay, so he's either going to be staying on 2 base, or he's trying to expand. Then I went past stone, and I saw, okay, no stone, which is used for fast expand. So he's most likely massing units in this current age. That is his current strategy, which might change. Like if he just pulls workers, he might tech up. So I'm just running around trying to scout. I have another knight here. He has spearmen there. And what he is trying to do is control my knights and make sure I'm not harassing. Knight going in, he pulls the workers back. and the town center is blasting. So, what is my general plan right now? So if you look at my map, right, I have a knight there, I have 2 knights here. I'm scouting what he's doing. He's still on the same tech. He's just teching up, getting spearmen. Back at my base, I'm not actually throwing down anything yet because he didn't do it either. So I'm just taking up, and I actually wanted to go castle this game, but then he suddenly throws down more production, and then I switched to archers, so I wouldn't, you know, just die to his spearmen. Now, one cool thing about Delhi is what the civ that he's playing. There are these capture points on the map called sacred sites. There's 3 of them. Some maps have 1, some maps have 2. You can capture these sacred sites, and if you capture all 3, and I think hold them for 10 minutes, you win the game. So there are different ways to win the game in Age of Empires, which I think is really cool. You can build a wonder, which is a super late game building that costs a lot of resources, and you need to defend it in order to win. You can capture these points, and then the opponent has to attack into you. You can destroy all the landmarks, which is your town center, the first town center, and all these tech-up buildings in order to win, so in some kind of weird base trade, or your opponent can surrender. Now, 99% of the games will end in you just killing your opponent or the opponent surrendering. But the fact that these sacred sites exist force your opponent, like if you capture them, or you can't kill your opponent, if you capture them, your opponent has to come out, which I think is great. Because a lot of people's complaints in like, Plastic League in StarCraft is, oh, I played this TVT and nobody moved out for 3 hours and it was the most boring game ever. But if you just capture these, it doesn't matter if you're a good or bad player, the opponent has to move out or the game will end. So I personally love that Age of Empires 4 has different ways of finishing the game. Now, what's cool about Delhi is when Delhi captures these sites, which by the way, they can capture them in 2nd age, while every other civ can capture them in 3rd age. So that's their unique thing, one of their unique things. So if they send Scholar there and capture Sacred Site, they actually get, I think it's 200 gold a minute. And that's counted, I think, as if you had, I think it's 5 or 6 workers on the gold. So every civ has a way to boost their economy, and Delhi's way is to capture the sacred point, and you basically get 5-6 workers for free from that sacred site, and you actually don't need to mine gold. You can farm more wood and more food and get more army that way. So every civ has like a unique thing they can play with here in Age of Empires 4 that I think is really cool. That doesn't mean, for example, I just want to make this clear, like if you're a friend, that doesn't mean you can only go knights. You can go whatever unit comp you want. It's just how you get to that point that's different. Yeah, Delhi can actually do it age 1 if they research, because they need to research capturing these things. So what he is going to do right now is he's going to move his spearmen, he's going to protect his scholar, and he's trying to escort the scholar to there to capture it. I see this, so I use the opportunity to harass the workers a little bit. He has to go back, and I'm just making it very chaotic because I knew that he wasn't experienced with Delhi as much, and obviously I'm trying to use my multitasking as much as I can. I try to snipe a worker here. Spearmen can actually use a command like hold ground and stun the cavalry, which is a very very cool ability to use and to get good at. So here I'm just harassing, just chilling, you know, trying to get some damage done. He's defending with spearmen. Here I throw down some walls. Walls are a great way to prevent harassment, which, you know, looking back, he should have done in this game. If he just walled off here and there, the harassment would stop and he could, you know, play more normally. But it's kind of like in, you know, in StarCraft 2 when someone says, oh, you could have just made 10 missile turrets against that one oracle. It's like, well, technically you could, but that's a lot of resources wasted, quote unquote. But walls in Age of Empires 4 are not that expensive, and they actually help a ton. So here he goes again. There's the scholar. And obviously I know that he's trying to do this because that's what Delhi players do. That's their bonus, so they're trying to work towards it. I'm harassing here once again. I managed to snap 2 spearmen. I stop his food production. I micro this Royal Knight away so he doesn't die. And here I see he's going for the Sacred Site. Now, French have an upgrade which is Chivalry, where Royal Knights regen out of combat. So if you micro them well, you can keep them alive forever early game. So here I'm just harassing more. I know he's going to capture this, but I cannot defeat 8 Spearmen with units that he counters. So I'm just kind of trying to do counterattack damage basically at this point. Because I see he's going for this, I go for the archery range to counter his Spearmen. I go for double archery range actually. He starts capping, and this is like when the capping is going, you can see the red line. Knights are, since they are anti-archers, they have high armor against arrows. So even though his town center is shooting at my knights, they're not really taking a lot of damage, which is why walls are very much suggested. So he's capturing this site, and suddenly his gold income will increase quite a bit because of it. And if you ever fight a Delhi player, you cannot let them get Sacred Sites, because they actually get double gold from it. So usually every civ gets 100 gold a minute, they get 200. So it's very, very dangerous to leave them with it. Here I'm harassing a little bit more. He's pulling workers, and yeah, if he walled up here, this game would have been a lot easier for him, but you know, we're all still learning, and this game was from a couple of days ago. So he captured this one, and now he's going for this one, which I will recapture this, or at least take it down. What you can also do with Delhi, which I think he didn't know, you can build walls with your units. So what he could have done is captured this and walled it off, because destroying walls takes quite a bit, so it would buy him time and basically get him a shit ton of gold for free. Back at my base, I'm getting a lot of wood. I'm using up all my food resources. As you can see, berries are almost gone. I got some sheep here, and I got some only 2-3 deer left. Now, this is the important part about Age of Empires and map control. You guys know from StarCraft 2 that map control is incredibly, incredibly important to see where the opponent is, to see where the army is, and so on and so forth. Map control in Age of Empires 4 and just army presence can be even more important, because check what happens now. He's about to run out of resources, right? He has deer, he's getting them with a buttload of workers, and his berries are out. He doesn't have sheep, so what is he forced to do? He's forced to make farms, which farms are not food source you gather fast from, which is fine because it lasts forever. But in order to get farms, you need to chop wood and then create farms, which is, if you're a StarCraft gamer, you know that's not very efficient, because you're using more resources to basically get less in the long run. So I don't need to do that, because I can just go out on the map and get these berries, I can get these berries, I can get this deer right here, I can get this pig that has 2,000 food on it but is very far away from my base, because I'm not threatened. I got the map control. He's the one that needs to worry. So this is one of those games, even if it was an even game, just me having better unit comp and having map control allows me to not spend my wood on farms, but maybe I can tech up even faster or get more units out. So here he's running back. I sniped the Scholar, recapturing the Sacred Site, and he completely loses the map control because I saw he only has Spearmen, so I went for double archer range, and I got a bunch of archers, so now map control is back in my hands. My knights are healing here, as you can see from that upgrade. He starts losing workers. These archers are basically to counter my archers, not to kill the knights. And if you saw there, one of the knights died so fast because they take... spears do 8 damage plus 16 versus cavalry, so they do a lot of damage. So this is where micro in Age of Empires comes in handy, but I want to say that I know that micro StarCraft 2 is extremely hard, to the point where some of the matches, if you don't micro, you are going to have very, very hard time winning. In Age of Empires, micro, I would say, is pretty important versus all-ins. But it's not like, oh, I missed micro for a second, my army is dead. It's very important against all-ins and in these kinds of early to mid-game skirmishes. And then mid-game, micro is not that important, it's macro. And then super late game, you have to snipe certain units and you go back to kind of controlling 3 control groups, like your melee control group, your archers, and then your siege units. So this is where you'll see some of that, you know, StarCraft 2 micro coming in hand. So what I'm trying to do is keep my archers away from his archers and kite his spearmen with my knights while sniping the spearmen with my archers. So you can see here, I'm kiting, sniping spearmen, and I just keep kiting back. So what I'm trying to do is engage my knights onto his archers and engage my archers onto his spearmen. He splits off a little bit here, and I notice I have 8 knights versus 5 spearmen, so I just blast them down quickly. And here I'm just kiting and rinsing spearmen one after another. Meanwhile, back at home, I'm tanking to age 3 because my economy was not really touched while his was disrupted the whole time. I do end up getting some farms here, but I think once peas are out and once deer are out, I'm going to go outside and get some more resources. So what I do here is I see that his army is kind of split. I snap these archers, then I go for his economy a little bit, engage into the archers, all while running from the spearmen because I don't want to fight him. So, as you can see, this is what I was talking about earlier. He has like 5 farms, which is not enough to sustain now. And he can't get these deer because they're too close to me. So he's just basically getting harassed to death. And at this point, if you look at it from like a high-level competitive point of view, the game is extremely over. Because, look at this, sniping all the spearmen. No spearmen left. Now the knights just roll. And again, a little bit of micro, pulling away the low HP knights, making sure they don't die. Spearmen come in, you run away. This game, by the way, is probably one of the most micro-intense or focused games that I've had. Most games are not this micro-intensive. You can make them to be if you fight in low numbers like I am here. Most people kind of macro and go more long-term. I just knew I was ahead here and I was just kind of pushing and microing as much as I can. So here I'm running away again. I'm going to be sniping spearmen, I think, soon. Or maybe not. I'm just running. Alright. Getting the spearmen. There's also a lot of cool stuff you can do with your cavalry. Like you can charge at the opponent, get that charge back in, the damage, and then just run away. Now there's no spears. Your knights can engage. You get it. So this is what I was talking about. I went on the map, and now I'm gathering the outside resources on both sides, and he can't do that because I can just harass it with my knights. So that's the benefit of having the map control. So in a way, if you ask what could have he done better, walling off, for example, versus French especially, because French players always open knights. You can always wall off, make sure your economy is safe, and if you just made a bunch of spearmen, captured this, and then walled it off, captured this, walled it off, then I would be in a lot of trouble and I would be forced to respond. So what I would have to do is actually break this or all in him, because at that point he would have 10 plus bonus workers out of nowhere because of these points, and then I'm put under the pressure even though I was just harassing him. And then I would respond with, you know, rams. Those like I don't know if you guys know what a ram is actually, but it's basically like a siege unit that can break through walls in order to recapture this, and so on and so forth. And if he had these points, he could have had much easier time getting like these barriers or this deer outside that he's getting now, because the pressure would be on me to be focused on this. So yeah, here I think I just go back. My knights are healing up with their little upgrade. There's a bunch of like upgrades you can get for your units. Basically like in StarCraft, you can get melee weapons, melee armor, range weapons, range armor. You can get a marketplace where you can buy food for gold, you can sell food for gold, and this is where I just add a bunch of stables so I can produce even more knights and just kind of overwhelm it. So you see this tower that he made would have been much better if he made it a lot earlier on, but kind of made it too late. I'm trying to think what else I can kind of explain to you guys. There are a bunch of, or not a bunch, but there's some games uploaded to my YouTube channel, which if you're watching this on Twitch or on YouTube, I guess if you're watching on Twitch, you'll watch me play soon. But if you're watching on YouTube, there are games that I uploaded versus top players in Age of Empires, where you can see some of the, you know, later stage games and games that are super close, and games where there's just so much action and so much stuff to do. And yeah, one thing I would say is in Age of Empires 2, look at that, running away the weekend nights, amazing. That's what's cool. You don't have to do this in Age of Empires 4, but you can, and you get a lot of benefit from it. I lost to, I'll be honest, I lost to players in Age of Empires 4 that had terrible micro. I was like, how's this guy this high ranked? But his game knowledge is way better than mine, and he beats me on that. I lost to players that had trash macro. Not trash, but not great. But I couldn't kill their units because their micro was really good. So there's different ways for players to excel, but game knowledge and strategy is, I think, the most important in Age of Empires. Where I've talked about this on my stream a lot, but StarCraft strategy has deteriorated along, along the years, where it became more of a mechanics game rather than a strategy game. And I definitely feel that Age of Empires 4 definitely has way more strategy and way less micro. Are there healers in Age of Empires 4? Yes, so the priests that capture these sites, the monks, for me, can heal, but they do heal very slowly. Like, you're not gonna build, 10 healers, like 10 medevacs and follow your army kind of thing. Can we see supply for each player somewhere? So this is the one thing that sucks about Age of Empires. The UI is trash. Observer UI and UI is not great according to a lot of people. I personally don't care, but a lot of people dislike it. So in the bottom left, you can see my supply. Once I select myself, economy 70, military 33. If I select him, economy 47, military 27. So, yeah. Yeah, that is because it's a new game. This is the replay observer. You can do income per minute. You can do military, player score, other trackers and stuff, which I'm sure will improve over time. Like, they're not gonna leave this observer replay thing forever. If you remember in StarCraft 2, what we started with and what we have now, they're all custom-made observer interfaces. So, yeah. So what I wanted to do here is put a castle in front of his base, because the game was super over. So I was trying to be a cheeky mother trucker. And I just put a castle, which is a planetary fortress, basically, in front of his base. And he GG'd out. How do you increase the supply? You max population, you build houses. So just like you build supply depots in StarCraft 2, you build houses in Age of Empires 4. Or, check this out. If you're a noob, right? And this is what I did. When I started playing Age of Empires, I picked Mongols. And the reason why I picked Mongols, look at their bonus. Right here. Oh, I can't. Look at their bonus, third from the top. Start with maximum population limit and no need for houses. So Mongols start with 6 or 7 out of 200, and you don't gotta build houses with them at all. So if you're a StarCraft guy that was constantly getting supply blocked and you can't build supply depots and overlords for shit, you can start playing Mongols. You don't gotta worry about that at all. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys in the chat, if you're from StarCraft, if you have any questions, because I'm not really sure what to explain. Because at this point, I don't even remember what's unique or different about Age of Empires compared to StarCraft 2. So if you guys have any questions, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch, feel free to ask. Like I said, there are games on YouTube you can check out to see how the gameplay is. There's games in on Twitch stream, a bunch of them. I've been streaming 6 to 9 hours every single day. And I personally am having a lot of fun. I definitely suggest you guys try it out. I know it's a different game. I know a lot of StarCraft 2 people just love StarCraft and that's it. But I wouldn't play it if I didn't like it, especially not 9 hours a day. So I definitely suggest you guys try it out. You know, watch some videos, try some different civs, and see what suits you. Let's see, how is balance between the civs? It is actually incredibly balanced considering it's a new game. If you guys remember in StarCraft 2 when it came out, I'll give an example. Proxy Marines were like unbeatable. Like bunker rushes were like, that's the whole thing. You didn't even see siege tanks until 2 months into the game. But in Age of Empires 4, I would say the only broken thing is French on water, because they get a ship that is so strong in second age that it beats every other ship, just straight up. But many players right now are just leaving the island water maps because people don't like playing them in general. Other than that, pretty much every civ is viable. In the last tournament, the huge tournament for 20,000 bucks, the only civs that were not played in top 8 were Chinese and Holy Roman Empire. But before that tournament, no one played Delhi, and then Delhi became super popular. So I think people are still figuring out, because some civs are very unique, that the way you have to play, and people just didn't use the time to properly invest and figure them out. So like the meta is still developing, and the best part is what I love about Age of Empires is another thing. If let's say you have a map that is I don't know, like let's say Dry Arabia, right? And let's say that English are the best on that map, right? And the counter to them is French. So what people would do is basically try to pick English and ban French, right? But then what people will start doing is, instead of picking English because that's an obvious choice, they would pick another civ to throw the opponent off, and you basically try to counter what he's doing, but he actually picked another civ, which doesn't give you an advantage like, oh, the game is over. There's just a lot of different variables, because there's 17 different maps and 8 civs. You can imagine there's so much variety to it. And initially I was thinking, like, how am I ever going to learn 17 maps and 8 civs, and who does well against what? And then you realize that you just kind of have to have a general plan in each game, and you have to understand how the economy works and just go off of that, react in the game, and not have a specific build order, because that's what I was worried, right? I was like, how am I going to have 8 builds for each civ times 17 maps? I was like, that's insane, right? But it's more so in the moment, and it genuinely feels like playing a strategy game and actually having strategy win, rather than, oh, this guy played much faster and he won and that's it. So yeah, I know a lot of people heard or thought that Age of Empires games are a lot slower. On average they are compared to StarCraft, no doubt about that. But I did have some long games on the ones that I upload on YouTube specifically that are like 50 minutes, 1 hour. But those are like split maps kind of scenarios in Age of Empires compared to, you know, StarCraft 2. And those games happen in StarCraft 2, except in Age of Empires, I would say average game time is 15 to 25 minutes at a high level. And then on a lower level, the games are actually much longer because people don't know how to kill each other. And I recently went on the Pylon show and I talked about this, and I compared it. Like, imagine 2 silver players in StarCraft 2 playing Mass Siege Tank against Mass Siege Tank. They don't know how to kill each other. Does that mean that StarCraft games are long? No. It's because people don't know how to win. And Age of Empires 4 is how many? 3-4 weeks old now. So I would say the whole community is learning and adapting, and everyone is, you know, Gold League, right? So I do think that the games are longer than StarCraft 2, for sure. But it's not like an hour is every game. It's going to be between 15 and 25, 30 minutes, depending how aggressive you play, you know, how defensive you play, and so on and so forth. So yeah, managing economy is very hard here. I would say that's probably the hardest part. It's also the most rewarding part, because if you manage your economy properly, you will get way more units than your opponent. Because in StarCraft 2, you're very economy capped. You know, you fast expand, you put stuff on the minerals, and that's it. You just gotta make units. But here you have to readjust on wood, readjust on food. So yeah, the pressure options are less than StarCraft 2. I mean, it's a different game. You can't compare StarCraft 2 as like, they're different games. There are less options. Like, yes, StarCraft 2 has like Widowmine drops, Reaper harass, this harass, that harass. But also this game doesn't have like possibility to lose in 1 second because Widowmine's killed 16 probes, right? And that's one part that I really like about Age of Empires is nothing is over in 1 second. You have time to react and kind of play around it. But StarCraft 2, like I said, is definitely a much faster game, for sure, but way less strategic. There's way less things to think about. StarCraft is more like you get into the game, you know, lock yourself in, and you just do stuff that you practiced. And Age of Empires 4 is more like active thinking and learning on the spot and so on and so forth. So I do some like things from StarCraft 2. I do like some things from Age of Empires 4. At the end of the day, they're completely different games. And you know, the best part is you can just play both of them. I would say, like I said, give it a go if you want to give it a go. If you don't want to give it a go, that's cool too. I just wanted to make this video and explanation for you guys to know, I guess, what the start is, and hopefully you guys will understand a bit better if you watch my stream, like what I'm doing and what's going on. But that's it. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions on YouTube, please leave the questions in the comments and I'll try to answer them as much as I can. But yeah, let's play some Age of Empires. For you guys on YouTube, peace out. For you guys on Twitch, let's keep blasting.